Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to convene this daily conversation around various aspects of the pandemic. Today is episode 207. We've done 207 episodes in 207 days, and we have a very special show for you this morning. You're going to get to meet Manisha Koirala. She is one of the biggest Bollywood stars and the author of Healed, How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. She joined us on April 11th for episode number 30, so that was a long time ago. And we're so grateful to her for joining us again on our show. You will meet her in just a moment. We will bring you Manisha Koirala in just a moment. In the meantime, just want to say hello to all of you and thank you all for being here. I'm Sree. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism and the co-founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consulting company. Our motto, don't cancel your events without talking to us. We can help you with virtual events. We've done events for 50 people and events for 100,000 people. And we also put on talk shows and things like this. So if you want to chat, please email me. My email address is right there on the screen. If you have not seen our show before, we have, in the first 200 episodes, had more than 1 million viewers and 148 million social impressions. We've had 357 guests. 208 of them have been women from 67 cities and 19 countries, including the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. We are live right now on Scroll Global and Scroll.in, one of India's leading news, information, and culture websites, where you can find our archives on youtube.com/Sreenet. We're able to do this because of our sponsors, who we will thank later in the show. And we're able to do this because of our awesome producers, Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31, and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. Please follow them as well. So are you ready to talk about various aspects of Bollywood and the pandemic and everything that's happening in India? You're going to meet Manisha Koirala in just a minute. We should also point out that we are, of course, watching what's happening at Walter Reed Hospital, where the President of the United States is, after being diagnosed with the coronavirus, is under observation for several days, as we've been told. And so after we speak to Manisha, we will have two doctors joining us to talk about the medical aspects of this very big issue, and also what we can learn about the safety of all of us all around the world. And you'll meet Drs. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Marina Kurian, who will join us at the end of this show. So now let's bring on Manisha Koirala to talk to us and to share with us what's happening in India and so much more. We're very grateful to have with us right now Manisha Koirala. Hello, hello.
Hi, namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for coming back on our show after 6 months. It seems like a lifetime ago. I have put on my kurta for the first time in many months so that I can try to be in the same league, but failing miserably here. Very nice to see you. My first question always is, how are you? Where are you? And how's your family managing through everything?
Sri, I'm in Nepal, in Kathmandu, and me and my family, by the grace of God, we are fine. We are doing well, and it's a great weather here, though. A little colder. I'm sorry, I'm wearing my T-shirt. Just a jumper, a little warmer because it's night here, and yeah.
Oh, no, that's
But
great.
I'm so glad to talk to you after five months, right?
Yeah,
We
almost 6 months now, because you came on episode number 30 and now we're at episode number 207. So it's just incredible
Wow.
how much time has passed. When we spoke back then, we had no idea how long the lockdowns were going to be. So tell us a little bit about Nepal, what's been happening there, so that we get a sense of the situation.
Yeah, I in Nepal actually the COVID situation started pretty slow, and it the rate of the infection was pretty low when I got in here. I came here in June, early June, on the 2nd of June, I think, and there weren't too many cases that time, but slowly and steadily it's spreading and it's getting really serious. Most of some of my family members have been infected by it, and some of them have recovered already. So I think it's slightly worrisome situation. Um, but I feel, at least for me and my parents, it was good to come here, um, because of the environment, because of the weather, because the support system. So I'm glad I'm here
Yeah,
in a
well,
way. Yeah.
yeah, always good to be home. We should point out that you, because of your work, you split your time between Kathmandu and Mumbai. And what are
Yeah.
you hearing about Mumbai and your friends and family there?
Yeah, actually, luckily, by the grace of God, my friends are fine. But of course, like I'm in constant touch with my friends and my staff and the people that I worked with, and um, I feel it's really scary. It's very scary times, and everybody is trying to do their best in a given circumstance, um, not to get the virus and be safe and still be useful and still be functioning at some level, because how much can you be just locked in an apartment? It's tough.
It,
So well, and I think the toughest part is the uncertainty of how long it's going to last, how long one will be confined in an apartment and in the house. That's probably is more unsettling.
and so confusing for people also, right? And your own family, you said in Nepal, some of them got the virus. Uh, what is this level of use of masks and all of that in the country? Is that better? You've seen the horrible stories about America where so many people don't wear masks and think it's a hoax and all of that.
Actually, we all were very surprised. We are surprised by what's happening in America, and um, the last was the presidential debate that we got to witness. But anyways, um, what I just want to say is I think this part of the world also, I feel chalta hai attitude is there, and until unless one gets really impacted with it, we are not that disciplined people, I feel. Even in Nepal, though whenever I've stepped out, like I go for my morning walks, and there are times I have to buy the foods and stuff like that, and people are wearing masks. People are maintaining certain social distancing, but I see the news, I check, and there's so many places where people are still not that careful, like because of work and economy, and all that has been impacted so badly that one this whole uncertainty of when one can start living a normal life is pretty huge.
And that's why there is so much concern. And we can see the number of confirmed cases and deaths. Nepal, of course, is a smaller country in population, but so the people there are so wonderful, and we our hearts go out to everyone who's been affected all over the world. You're actually our first guest who's in Nepal, so we've talked to people from lots of other countries, but first time someone in Nepal. When you joined us last time, you were in Mumbai. Well, let me ask you, what have you learned about yourself during these 6 months? How have you changed as a person?
Sree, I feel for me, cancer taught me a huge deal. Going through cancer actually was a huge wake up call for me. So now I'm actually I'm kind of tuned in to somehow survive this phase as well. In the sense, um, I know the triggers. I know the things that I need to do to keep up with these tough challenges and with tough situations. So, it's really important for me to be physically active. So I immerse myself either in walking or gardening or something which will really tire me out. Um, I love understanding about spirituality and science together, and so I do these courses on and off. I love communication. I love talking to, so that's the reason I'm talking to you, and through you, many other people, my fans and people. So I guess one has to be creative. And one has to know what really is your trigger point. What are the things that you could do to make the best of the situation, and not get slumbered in depression or sadness. Mind you, I do go through that. I have a tendency to worry a lot, and most of the cancer patient, all of us have this tendency to worry whenever there's something little bit also happens. We kind of it's little larger for us. um, but also the survival instinct kicks in, and we stumble upon doing the right thing for us, for ourselves and our surroundings.
Well, it's so important. Folks, you're watching a conversation with Manisha Koirala, Bollywood star, and the author of this book, Healed. And it's How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. And you heard her talk about that. We'll ask her for some of her advice on people who are dealing uh, with situations like cancer and also everything else that's going on. Manisha, we had on the show the head of non-communicable diseases of the WHO, meaning chronic diseases such as cancer and diabetes and all of that. And she was saying that during the pandemic, people are not paying enough attention to these other conditions. And so people are suffering from that. And please tell us your own situation with cancer right now. You're clear, and talk about that, please.
Yeah, Sri, the thing is, it's so right. And the fear of COVID is so huge that, some other elements which are really life threatening probably is getting backtracked. So, a lot of the doctors that I work closely with for, generating awareness, and I'm in constant touch for my own reasons, they do share that with me. And I guess it's so much in our faces, this whole COVID fear. But I somehow, Sri, to me, living, having a life after really a grave cancer diagnosis has kind of make made me, how do I put it clearly? Kind of, I look for an opportunity to be grateful. I look for an opportunity to stay really, no matter what, how the situation is. There is hope. There is this positive, this thing. I keep on working, whatever makes me happy and joyful and sharing. And so, we know so many people's job has been impacted with COVID. and there's so much of uncertainty regarding financial situation in their lives. So we are blessed. At least there is a house, there is food. My family are fine. My parents are, touch wood, they're okay, and stuff like that. Little small little things, focusing on doing baby steps, uh, right things, correct things. um, and also at a time like this, I feel if we can reach out and be of some use, of some support, of some help to someone, I think that'll also be great. There's a lot of people who are feeding now. There's a lot of hungry people. I've been actually following one chef who lives in New York, who's been feeding a lot of people in India. I think that's such a huge contribution in these days. And there's a lot of
Vikas Khanna, you're right. Vikas Khanna has
yeah,
fed more than 50 million people. He's been on our show also. It's been great to see what he's
I
been able to do.
yeah, I think that's so good. That's so good to see that. And there are some NGOs who are working in Nepal as well, who are feeding people every day. You know, so just in a time, I feel, I have really strong faith in humanity. And no matter how bad the situation comes, I think we are resilient race. We can overcome it, and we can turn out any difficult situation can actually turn out to be a space where we can grow as human being, and our humanity can survive and thrive in bad times. So let's keep the fingers crossed. um
So
and
beautifully put. Thank you. That is so wonderful. I'm reading from the preface in your book. It starts, "May you realize your limitless human potential and rekindle your inner spirit to face every challenge life throws at you." That was your note to your readers. Tell us about your message in the book. Why should someone who may not have cancer still read the book? What would they learn?
Well, it's a story, Sri. I've tried to be as honest as possible. I have bared my soul in it. At the cost of slightly, I thought I'll be ridiculed, I'll be, gossiped about, or judged. But I decided, no, I need to tell my story. I need to tell my struggle, of sorrows, pain, fear, um, and then also about how I overcame my health, so that people who could be having challenges in their life, who could be, it could be health crisis, it could be anything, relationship crisis, because I have written that also in that book, emotional or financial or health, whatever crisis. I think we can rise from the ashes, and we have that endurance, we have that resilience, um, and all here, all of us have that in us. So I just hoped and prayed that through telling my story, they can see that in themselves and come out of their challenges and tough times.
One of your chapters that I want to highlight to everyone is called "Cancer as My Gift." And you have a quote here from Chris Cleave: "A scar does not form on the dying. A scar means I survived." The survival rate for stage 4 ovarian cancer, according to the American Cancer Society, is only 19%. But I'm still here alive despite not being expected to live. How is cancer a gift?
Well, I feel I understood the value of life and value of health after my cancer diagnosis. And somehow before the diagnosis, I was very careless with my life and my health and everything. And, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was at my lowest ebb, lowest place. My marriage had failed. Emotionally, I was a wreck. I mean, it was just, it was a long period. I feel I was pretty broke. And when I got cancer, that was like a huge, humongous wake up call. And it's only when you feel that's I can't say you. It's only when I felt that my life was slipping by me, I realized the value of life. And that's why I say cancer really shook me up and came as a gift. And it's like God's been kind. I'm alive and I'm healthy and I'm cancer free. um, but and I also feel, if hadn't been for cancer, what it would have taken for me to really wake up and not be depressed, because life is so precious, our health is so precious. And so I this whole sense of being grateful towards life, and to be grateful to be healthy and to be able to do things, and to um, fulfill our dreams, and whatever. So um, that realization came because of cancer diagnosis. So that's why.
Well, I know people will benefit from hearing your positivity in the middle of all of this pain. Let's do what we call a global tour. There are people who've been commenting, and we want to just hear from them. Jonathan Borstein's watching from the East Village. He has watched 207 episodes in a row, and
Wow.
he helped me host a show last night about what is happening in New York and how does New York bounce back. He lives in the village, and I know that you spend time in New York, and we'll talk more about that too. Baba Kumar is thanking me for you being here. He should be thanking you. Twyla Duncan, who is a fan and who met you the last time you were in New York, says hello. Kiran says, hi, Manisha. I'm so glad you are doing so well. You're an inspiration to me during my journey through the same madness. It's been a while since we connected.
Oh,
And
it's so good. It's so good to connect to people who've gone through the same, and yeah. And
did you
thank
feel
you.
there's a
No, I think people
sisterhood?
should thank you, and I should thank you, Sree, because of your podium, because of you, I can meet people.
Oh, thank you. Do you feel there's a sisterhood of women who've gone through these issues, and you feel a kinship to them?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just that when somebody's gone through cancer, it's just that we know what that person has gone through. We know how fearful it's been, the journey. So there is automatically a connection, empathy. You know, we just um, it's just that when one is able to see that long period of struggle that one has to go through, automatically, you connect with the other person.
And that certainly makes such a big difference when you're able to do that. Krishna says, great to see Madam Koirala on the show. People who are not from South Asia might be surprised at that kind of wording, but it's very common to say ma'am and madam to women you respect, and so you see that. Hi, ma'am, again. So nice to see you. Monica says, hi, Manisha, and tuning in from Hong Kong. So you have fans all over the world joining in. We have a kiss here. We have Dhiren watching from Melbourne. He's a friend of ours, a family friend from Fiji. When I went to high school in Fiji, Dhiren is a friend, and now he's watching from Melbourne. I'm sure you've spent time in Australia.
I love Australia.
And
I
what
love
about a
Australia.
memory of Hong Kong that you would like to share?
Well, I actually I went a year back or 2 years back. I went to Hong Kong with my book, with Jaipur Literature Festival, and they did a event there, and I had a wonderful evening with people reading my book, and then we went out for dinner. Unfortunately, I was there only for 2 nights, and and I also did a film many years back called Company. We shot kind of a sequence in Hong Kong. So yeah, there's been really nice, great memories in Hong Kong.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
For those of us who only know Bollywood by watching it on film, it all seems so glamorous. The way you travel from one place to another and all of that. How much do you miss of the traveling part of your life that has been on hold for 6 months?
Well, I love traveling. I love traveling, and not only for my work. Of course, work and travel will be most welcome, but otherwise too. I'm a gypsy at heart, and I love visiting different places, different or some of my favorite places. So yeah, I really miss. In fact, a little secret is that every week, every 10 days, I make a plan to travel. And when I see the situation, then I say, oh, maybe not now. I'm going to put it on hold, and I'll do it next week or after 10 days. And yet again, I try and do that. So I've been attempting to travel.
At least traveling in your mind. Sukhbir says, MK, you are just brilliant. We have someone saying, good to see you again. You met you last year in Goa at a conference. And so many other comments coming in. We won't have time to or just go through all the comments. My favorite actress, says Dhanji. And
Thank you.
Monica says, your book is beautifully written. And people are tagging their friends. We have a greeting from Silver Spring, Maryland, in Pradnya. That's just outside Washington, D.C. Have you spent time in Washington?
Yeah, Sri, I have my aunt, my boa, living in Virginia, and so I travel a lot to DC, and but I every time I'm in US, I do visit my aunt, my boa. So yeah, quite a lot, I would
Kruti
say.
says, loved Manisha in the movie Muska.
Yeah.
And and my mom is watching from Kerala. Hi, Amma, love you. Happy birthday! It was her birthday yesterday, Gandhiji's birthday.
Oh,
So she celebrates
oh,
with Gandhiji. And I love you, Amma.
belated happy birthday.
Thank you. She'll be thrilled. You should know that because of my father's work as an Indian diplomat, wherever we lived overseas, there would be in the embassy was one of the places where these Bollywood stars would come and for Indian food, for example. One of my oldest memories is living in Russia, the Soviet Union in the 70s, and having people like Raj Kapoor
Raj
and
Kapoor,
in our
yeah.
in our home. That's one of my earliest memories, and of course we lost Rishi Kapoor this year, and we'll talk about the losses that the Bollywood industry has had this year. At least three great legendary actors have passed. Important stars have passed. But this
Yeah.
is my memory of and what I want to tell folks is that Manisha, who you're seeing here, is you see how down to earth she is. She That's my memory of some of these other folks as well. And by the way, in the 70s, I remember there was a young new actor that was coming up and coming. Nobody knew him, and that was a young man named Mithun Chakrabarti.
Oh,
And, so
70s.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
she had just made a
Wow.
movie, and so and the first Bollywood movie I ever saw was a movie called Kati Patang, which I saw in Moscow in 1974, 75, and I still remember watching that film. And my children know all the songs because we play it all the time, and that's the connection that Bollywood has. And you know that you have fans who are not Indian. And what is your understanding of why Bollywood has appealed to people who have discovered it? Not everyone's discovered, but who have discovered it, they really make that connection to Bollywood in surprising ways.
I think, honestly, I feel honored to be part of Bollywood. It has given me a huge career, and it has made me be recognized in various part of the world and receive love and affection from them. It is such a wonderful space, I feel, to tell a story, to sing and dance, to um, and it talks about the culture, about the places, the story. I feel, when I hear your story or you hear my story, there is instant heart connection, and that's what cinema do. That's what books, literature, and cinema, or any kind of stories or song and dance. There is some kind of a heart and soul connection, and Bollywood has a flavor to it. People love that, and it has really. I feel it's India is one of the biggest, nicest gift to the world, and I feel so honored that I'm part of that, and to receive so many people's love and affection, to see that. Our films, our work, this thing gets appreciated across the globe. It's a wonderful feeling.
And Akruti says, such an incredible actor, and thank you for having her on the show. Thanks to her for being here with us. Apollo's watching from New Jersey, from Montclair, New Jersey. And Pradnya says, she's so amazing. And there's just so many great comments coming in. Ashok, who's watching from Kerala, says, I too went through a very difficult phase of my life. I lost my wife this year, and then COVID positive with him and his daughter in August. So, but now I'm doing fine and doing well. He says, I'm reading, listening to music, and cooking. What are you doing to keep busy?
Gardening. So, yesterday I went to do my manicure and pedicure, and I was thinking they're gonna just get dirty very soon because I'm all the time touching, and I'm in the ground, and I love that. I'm putting up these fruit trees and some new flowers, and I work with my gardener. So I love that, and I go for my walks with my friend. So there's a lovely conversation. We go on to the nurseries and check the plants, and I mean, of course, maintaining all the safety and security and blah blah blah. But yeah, I think watching movies with family, doing my online courses, which I enjoy. Nowadays, I'm doing this Dr. Joe Dispenza course, which is really excellent. This is my kind of place where I really spend hours. Um, Spending time with my parents, my brother's family, my friends, and looking after the dogs, looking after my house. At times, I will cook, but my parents are very finicky about really dal, chawal, and lots of this thing. And I like to cook pastas and some, you know, dishes like that. So I keep in mind who's eating my food. Yeah, I mean, various things. One finds ways to keep ourselves happy and engaged, and be useful and grow. I think these are the things which is really, at the end of the day, if we are learning something new, and if we are engaged in something which is soulful, and we are in flow, um, and there is a heart connection, soul connection, and then you're healthy as well. So all that.
Twyla asked, before Manisha's diagnosis and openness about ovarian cancer, did Nepalese women discuss it openly?
No, I think cancer is such a taboo topic, and slowly people are getting out and speaking up. And actually, getting out and speaking is really necessary because we need people to not have this. There's a lot of what do you call andvishwas? What's the term? Misinformation, superstition, misinformation.
Mhm.
And when things are all hushed up, it's projected as something else which is not true. So when you step out and speak, you tell your story, you share other people's learnings. The society becomes more open, more accepting, more kinder, compassionate. So I feel we all need to kind of start doing that in every sphere, not only cancer diagnosis, but by and large, trusting the other person to be human enough to understand your pain. rather than getting ridiculed by it.
Thank you. That's such an important message. Thank you. Rosilia says hello from Rosala. Sorry, says hello from Alexandria, Virginia. So she's watching, and we were at her home just last year, and that seems so long ago when we could be mixing with other people and going to friends' houses. Vikas says great to hear you virtually also, and and we're just talking. We're there's so many comments coming in. Chun is very proud that you're a Nepali, because obviously people think you're Indian because you've made it in Bollywood, one of the most difficult industries in the world. But he's pointing out that you are in fact Nepali, uh, and lots of other comments also coming in. I spent Cherry, who's from Kerala, says I spent 4 years of my childhood in Nepal, great country, and my mom says thank you to you, and
Ah.
uh, eh, and there's so many other comments coming in. Pragna says, "Come visit us next time you visit your bua."
Yes, of course, of course.
Nikhil says, "Getting to know the person behind the actor," which is beautiful to hear. Ron's watching from Dubai. I love traveling as well. Tell us about Dubai and your connection to it.
Well, I visited. I haven't visited Dubai recently, uh, but it's a big, huge metropolitan country, and it has huge seven-star hotels, and yeah, a lot of my friends love going to Dubai and do shopping, and having just short holidays and come back, and. Yeah, I remember going there for a film shoot. Um, I've taken my parents, my best friend. Um, yeah,
Great.
being an actor, we get to travel, which is like really one of the best part, besides so many other aspects.
Ashok says, "Welcome to Kerala after the crisis is over with your book." And
Would love it. Would love it. In fact, I was meant to be going to the Kerala Literature Festival, and I could not. And I'm really kicked. I love Kerala. I think the backwaters and the Ayurveda, and yay, you guys have you're blessed with so much.
folks, we're talking to Manisha Koirala, the author of this book, Healed. And I want to read just the back of the book. It says, "The fear of being abandoned had chased me all my life. This fear, however, was unlike anything I'd experienced before. It was the fear of being abandoned by life itself." And you write about so many things that I don't think any Bollywood actress would be comfortable sharing, including photographs of yourself after the cancer treatment, where we all know what it does to one's
Yeah.
appearance and all of that. How did you find the strength to talk about it and share it? As you know, in our community, the South Asian community, looks are everything. What appearances are everything. Log kya kahenge? What will people say? Those are the things that worry people the most. And you were able to share that. I'm sure doctors were very grateful that you were able to be so open and help people within your journey.
Yeah, Sri, I went through my own struggle of uncertainty, my own struggle of fear of being judged and ridiculed, and I had my fair share of that. My earlier on career, I've had bad press times, and so that fear lingered on. And it manifested in terms of the how I was looking, and I was so the constant fear was people will say hi, क्या दिखती है, क्या क्या कैसी थी और कैसी हो गई, all things like that. Oh, I was so filled with so much of fear. But slowly, what I also started noticing was that people were not that judgmental. People were very kind, and at least on my face, and that's what I started experiencing and seeing, that people um, were very compassionate. So with that kind of experience, I decided, okay, I need to be earnest, I need to be honest, and I also for my own sake. Um, so when years would have happened, hopefully, and if I've survived a long life, and I wanted to open the pages of my own book, I would see, I would remember what I went through. So for my sake as well as for the people's sake, I needed to be honest and bare my soul and hope against all hope that I won't be ridiculed and I won't be judged. And a part of me said, oh, even if I was judged, it's probably people, a small amount of people, but by and large, um, I somehow prayed and hoped that people would welcome, um, understand rather.
Well, they certainly did. And here's Monica saying, since she met you at the Asia Society last year, I watched a bunch of your movies like Dil Se and Muska and Red Healed. You are beautiful and brilliant. And and at the Priya Aurora says, I'm such a huge fan, Manisha. Who is your favorite co-star or someone you wished to work with? So I guess two questions. Who is your favorite co-star and someone you wished you could work with?
My favorite co-stars, I've worked with some really profound, good actors. Whether it's Rishi Kapoorji, whether it's Irfan Khan. Um, I recently finished a film with Adil, whom I really have a high respect for. Um, and I am I am fan of Amir Khan's films, and I love the way he transforms himself from one role to another character, and his movies are always, there is certain undercurrent messages, and so I like his films. And I had an opportunity to work with some of the very good actors in Bollywood or Indian film. Kamal Hassan ji, for that matter, he's a brilliant, iconic figure in acting. What a man, So whether it's Amit ji, uh, so I've had a good fortune of working with some of the really legendary actors and superstars. So I'm happy with that. My personal favorite has been Amir Khan because of the movies that he makes nowadays. I love that. Whom do I wish to work with? Um, Honestly, I haven't thought on those lines at all. I just want to get good roles. I just want to be able to stretch my boundaries of performance and push myself a little further and act even better. Uh, you know, um, be better at my own skills in my job. I haven't thought of otherwise which actor.
It's very, very nice to hear all those great names and people who I'm sure would include you in their list of people that they worked with and enjoyed. Here's a question from Chennai. Sam Daniels asking, with all the vibrant pluralistic film industry in India, like Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Bengali, how does she look at Bollywood appropriating the title of Indian cinema in the world arena and Bollywood projecting itself to be the sole representative of Indian cinema?
No, that's a valid question. That's a very, very valid question. And honestly speaking, though when we talk of Bollywood, it's generalized that it's from Bombay. It's 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 a term most of my serious actor friends or film people, they don't like it. A, because it's a copy of Hollywood. Um, um, and so B, it's only from Bombay, so it's a Bollywood. Um, Shri, I would like to say that I had a good fortune of working with great directors from Bengal. Rituda, I worked with him. What a good actor Prashanjit is. I mean, I learned from such wonderful performers and great actors, and I worked in South many films, and as I said, Kamalji, Rajnikant sir. Shankar Garu, Mani Ratnam sir, and Shyama Prasad ji, and Lenin sir. So many legendary figures I have worked, and when I use Bollywood, everything is in that. So it's basically Indian film industry, um, and just to make the life simpler, one is using the twang, one is using the lingo, one is using the term, but in a sense, it means whole of Indian film industry, basically.
I think that's a great way to understand this. Just a couple of more questions and comments I just want to read here. Abhishek says, "All the best, ma'am," and we wanted to show a story that just came out this week about a movie that this show. Can you just tell us about Indian Sweets and Spices, please?
Yes, that's a movie I'm really excited about. It's my first American um, film, and the producers are the same people who made Crazy Rich Asian, and it has a great script. It's directed by Geeta, who lives in LA, and she her script got awarded, and that's how the film is being made. And I have some really great co-actors. Adil, of course, is a wonderful actor. Sophia Ali, and she's a phenomenal actress. I was so happy in our first script reading itself. The all the cast members uh, was so well prepared, and I was wow. I would from each and every dialogue to each and every expression, everything was, to the T. So the level of professionalism was really huge on the set. So I'm really kicked about it. It's a great story. It is an entertainer, plus it has some message which is really relevant in today's time. So I'm looking forward for its releases, and I'm looking forward for people to give me a feedback.
Tell us what's happening in this still that we're looking at.
Well, it's actually it's a celebration, as you can say. Me and Adil are cutting a cake, and my daughter, my children are there, and it's a celebration. It's a party. It's an upscale family of immigrants, and first generation and the second generation, and all that.
And tell us the quick storyline. It's a store or a
Oh,
restaurant.
again, it just basically the name, the title of this thing is just a metaphor. It's just the name of a shop, but the film revolves around this family who live in a suburban side of New York, New Jersey, and they are affluent family, and the confusion the daughter faces when she comes back home to the school from school, and she sees what's been projected is not really true, and she edges her mother to actually come out, and show the real self. And yeah, I mean, it's like first generation of immigrant, how their value system is, and what's going on there, and then the second generation of the youngsters, um, how they are. So I think it'll be very very relatable. Plus, it's not only a Gyan film; it's an entertainer. It's light-hearted as well. It has a lot of humor and a good message as well. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing that film and learning more about it. I presume it'll be out in a few months or so, depending on everything's upended here also, as you know, and that's made it very very complicated. I saw a big movie has just announced they're going straight to HBO Max and bypassing the theaters completely because of the situation. So
Yeah.
before you go, we wanted to just tell everyone that we're going to give you a chance to give us some final thoughts. But before that, want to tell everyone that we're going to be joined in a minute by two of my friends who are surgeons in New York who have been guiding us about what's happening with COVID all of these months in the US. And they have their own show called She's on Call. And that show is on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Dr. Marina Korean will be with us in a moment. And tomorrow they have a vascular radiologist and a diagnostic radiologist. It's all about radiology, but of course, so much more. It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that's the topic that they're going to be tackling tomorrow at 11 a.m. on She's on Call on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So everyone, please watch that tomorrow, but they'll be joining us here in a minute. So I also want them to say hi to you, because last year, when you were in New York, we had a dinner party, as you will remember, Manisha. And
what a wonderful host you are.
Well, this is the photo from that event, and we can, if everyone's looking, you're right in the middle there behind me. I'm on the floor with my wife, Rupa. She's the real amazing host. And in this photo, this is a party we threw together with less than 24 hours notice. And we thought, okay, maybe a few people come. Everybody I know wanted to come and meet you. And on the extreme left in the black top is Dr. Marina Korean, who was there. So she's now going to join us to say hello to you. And then we'll give you a chance to give us some final thoughts as well. So let me bring on our doctor friends. Here's Sujana and here's Marina. Hi, folks.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. So
Hi.
nice to see you, Manisha.
Good
And
to see you
also
again.
I like that you remembered me. Thank you.
Well, you got a shiny shirt today, so I like it.
I wore this for Manisha because if you're going to talk to a Bollywood star, you've got to put on your kurta at the very, very minimum. And Marina, you got to say hello last year as well in person.
So exciting. I love, when you said that you threw a party together in 24 hours, I'm like, yes, Indian sweets and spices. This is tying in with Manisha's film, which I'm so excited to see. That's going to be a fantastic movie. And so
Yeah.
you back again.
I should point out that I want to point out that I asked Manisha what should we serve, and she asked for Thai food, and we had Thai catered food that night. It was amazing, and those are some of the things we miss so much in this new world. And we asked our doctor friends to come on to talk about what's happening with coronavirus, especially with the news about the president. But since the four of us are together here for a moment, if the two doctors want to ask or say anything to Manisha, or Manisha, if you want to just say hello to two doctors, because I know your diagnosis and treatment, a lot of that happened in America, and you made lots of American medical friends. So if you want to, maybe we'll start with you talking to them for just a minute, and I'll step out of the way.
Hey.
Hi.
So, first of all, really hats off to your profession. And, I know so many who are out there serving and got infected and got this thing. So hats off, my huge respect to your profession of saving lives,
Thank you. But you've done even a greater service, especially using your platform to talk about your diagnosis, your treatment, and and really educating. And I think that is incredibly valuable to so many people who have fears about being evaluated or discussing their diagnosis.
I think that mind-body connection that you've brought out in your book is so important, because my father had cancer many, many years ago, 23 years ago, and he is fine. But when he was in the hospital, he's also an ENT surgeon. So we have, doctors have a very weird and macabre look on life. And I said to him, Appa, you and I have taken care of cancer patients, and the guy in bed A lives and the guy in bed B does not, or does not do well. And what's the difference? And the difference is that mind-body connection, is that attitude. And it's the determination to survive and then to find that joy in surviving and living and continuing to be part of your family, be part of society, give back. And I think you have really brought that out in a way doctors can't. It's a journey you took, and to share that journey with us is incredible.
Well, thank you so much. I am humbled by your praises. I don't know if I deserve that, but thank you. Yeah, I feel the joy of living and wanting to live a healthy life and trying to do right, no matter how grave the situation is, and really pushing oneself to take the correct step forward is the key. And the will to live and the will to live and thrive is what pushes, I feel, all of us. Yeah. But I was also very fortunate, I have to say that I was very fortunate that I had a huge backup, my family support system, friends, family, people on, who have loved my work, my fans, my well-wishers. So I feel um, even there was a time when I would lose hope, they wouldn't allow me. So I didn't have a chance but to do the right thing. So let me take this opportunity. I really want to ask, what are the things that you do when you go to the hospital now? I mean, what are the safety measures that you take, and how do you feel about it? And please share that.
Well, we are all wearing as much PPE or personal protective equipment as possible. So before we enter the hospital, we have to fill out a survey on our smartphones so that we attest that we have not been somewhere or been exposed to sick people or had a fever or so on. They take our temperature. I wear, and I think Marina as well, I wear both the N95 mask and a surgical mask over it, because even in this country, we are reusing materials because there's some scarcity of materials. I had to put some makeup on today. Well, one, because I was seeing a Bollywood star, come on. But also because all the skin on my nose got completely rubbed away over the last 2 days of wearing this scratchy N95 mask. So I had this sort of weird red stripe going on my nose because the one layer of skin got peeled away. So we're wearing masks, we're wearing eye protection, we're wearing gloves. We're sanitizing the rooms in between patients. Our patients, for the most part, are really respectful and they keep their masks on. And frankly, if they're uncomfortable, if I'm doing a procedure and they're feeling a little faint or they're feeling overwhelmed, because I have my protection, my nurse has her protection, they can actually take their mask down and be as comfortable as possible to get through that procedure.
Wow. I know. See, the difference is that she's in people's faces all the time, and I'm actually not. I work on their bellies, so I don't have to wear an N95. So my big nose right here has been okay, but from now on, Suju, I'm calling you Stripe. Like,
just call me Zebra or something. It was horrible.
But it is, we do a test, we go in. I feel completely safe in the hospital. We restarted surgeries in New York in May 18th. So I stopped March 16th and restarted May 18th. And it was about 8.5 weeks or so. And, I felt safe doing it then. So just right when we're operating, we have a lot more stuff on, and we'll wear the N95s we've kind of been reserving for the COVID positive patients, depending on what we're doing. But there's different protocols at every institution. And I think it also has a lot to do with which part of the country you're in and how many patients you're seeing that are coming through and having issues. So for the most part, once, we identified what we needed to do to protect the health force, we've seen many of the centers saying that they have, you know, a strong reduction in the numbers of COVID positive healthcare workers. So that's been good, and that gives me, in this disease that we don't really know how best to treat, how to fully protect everyone, and while we're still waiting for vaccines, et cetera, it's nice to know that some of our measures are making a difference.
Yeah, what are the this thing about vaccines? I mean, are they? We don't really know, right?
Well, we're not there with a COVID vaccine yet. We're getting there, and there's different phases of trials. So phase 1 just looks to make sure it's safe. So we're not doing something that's going to harm people. Phase 2 is a smaller group of people to see if it's effective. So to see if somebody can be prevented from getting the disease by taking the vaccine. And that seems to be holding out for several of the vaccines that have been tried. Now, phase 3 is a much larger cohort of people. You vaccinate a large group, and these are only being done in adults, so we don't have any data in children. And in the United States, we have some issue with enough people of all races signing up for these trials, right? So there's quite an interesting other dialogue there. But once phase 3 is done, and it looks like not only is it safe, but it seems to be effective, then the rollout starts. And that rollout, probably based on the guidance from the federal government, will start in the second or third quarter of 2021. We do have another vaccine that's really important to take, which is the flu vaccine. So we don't want you to get flu and COVID at the same time, because that's a real double hit on your respiratory system and on your body. So we are urging people in the Northern Hemisphere, where flu season is starting, to take the flu vaccine. In the Southern Hemisphere, where they saw much less flu and much less flu complications this year, which is really good. And then Mark Lee had a question. He said, don't doctors make the worst patients? And yeah, we do. So I do my best when I go to a doctor. I let them know I'm a doctor, and then I tell them I know ENT, so if I have to have an ENT problem, okay. But otherwise, please treat me as a patient. VIP care is not good care. You want to be treated like everybody with evidence-based care.
So I think Mark's question was really about whether you got the flu shot. She did. I haven't yet. Today's my day. I'm going to CVS, and hopefully, it goes well. I just couldn't. The hospital does offer it for employees, but I haven't been able to catch up to one of the days that they've been offering it. And, we're actually mandated at one of my institutions to take it by November 1st. So I got to get a move on, because it takes about 2 weeks to really get some sort of, immunity.
What are your theories about keeping having your daily doses of vitamins and vitamin C and vitamin D and all that? Is that useful?
I'm not seeing any of it. I just
no.
Vitamin.
Yeah, me either. It's like your sock question from 2 weeks ago, Marina. Do I wear compression socks in the OR? Oh my God, I just cannot add one more thing to my life. I'm a big proponent of trying to eat healthy. I eat everything, but I prefer vegetables. And I think, frankly, Indian vegetarian diet is a really healthy diet. I'm not vegetarian, but I think choosing a healthy intake versus the not healthy really makes sense. There are people who swear by their supplements. I have morning tea.
I have two doctors telling me they don't take, so it's so I get the message. Okay. Eat healthy is the right thing, right?
Eat healthy, get some exercise, think healthy. Your gardening and your walks with your friends are doing so much more for you than just messing up your manicure, right? I mean, that's really giving you that joie de vivre, that sort of mind-body connection.
I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
So how
I had
did
to
you
come back
find-
on. I had to come back on to just take my show back, and it suddenly
Yeah.
turned into.
We just
I
hijacked the show.
can go on. I can go on asking them many questions.
I'm really worried now because not only do I have two great doctors who can take over my job anytime. Now, Manisha is also a great interviewer. So I'm indeed triple here. I don't come to your jobs and try to become an actor or to try to become a doctor, but you guys are taking my livelihood. But honestly, this was so great to hear you. If you don't mind just talking a little bit more, I think people will really listen and benefit from this conversation. So I'm going to step out again, and I'll go to Marina to ask Manisha a question.
Oh, me? Well, you know what? It's interesting. I want to actually, I was gonna talk about the whole President Trump diagnosis and Melania and or the First Lady and also so many other people that were exposed to them. But you know, I know as a doctor what I think. Manisha, what do you think about this when you hear this has happened? And you know, what do your friends and family think about this? I think we're all educated people. We're educated in different levels. Like for us, you know, Suju and I, it's medicine, and then even our, you know, infectious disease doctor friends have even a little level above what we know, as well as the virologists and the immunologists. But what are the thoughts going through your circles about this diagnosis and finding?
Yeah, it's so. I've been following a bit of American news because I am keen to know what's happening in the world, and it was very worrying when I saw some of the states refusing to wear masks and refusing to do social distancing and take safety measures. So it was actually quite worrying. And I think at some point, it was in a short, this thing on the presidential debate also, I think Biden said to Trump, and Trump had to take out his mask and show that he was carrying the mask, and President Trump. So I don't know, I feel people still need to be really be responsible and be have this thing towards wearing a mask and maintaining a social distancing, and it just goes to show that when diseases or illness happens, it doesn't really look into whether you're a president or you're an actress or you're XYZ. It just happened. You're a human being, and if you're vulnerable, you would probably get that. So it just reminds us to be more responsible, to really take care.
Yeah, it is.
I'll just point out that some of this is luck for a lot of people, but in this particular case, as we know, there was an event to roll out the nomination of the new Supreme Court justice, and at that event, two senators, the head of the Republican National Committee, Kellyanne Conway, one of President Trump's biggest spokesfolks, all of those people got sick because they didn't wear masks, because they were hugging each other. Like, these are things that we've been saying since March. These two doctors have been on my show saying, don't do that. And now look at the situation. And so painful to see that this is happening right now. Go ahead, Marina.
So when we talk about, there's been a lot of research looking at super spreaders and what are these super spreading events, like that one woman, patient 0 in South Korea, who infected a megachurch. How was it that so many times people who are asymptomatic can be with so many people, and yet they are not? There are plenty of people who are asymptomatic but have COVID that have not infected anybody. Why is that? Like, we hear stories from our patients. Where one of my patients, right after surgery, she's like, my husband just got COVID from somebody, and she, you know, banished him to the basement, and she's fresh from surgery, and I was a little bit worried, but she didn't get it. They practiced this in the house. They practiced, you know, the distancing, the quarantining, and she didn't get it. But what's interesting to me is that this was a super spreading event, and one of the things that they bring up, which is why there are no concerts and the bars aren't open, is that loud talking Not to say that there was any bluster going on at the meeting, I'm not suggesting that. But there's loud talking and cheering, and that is why this got spread. And so if they had worn the masks, it would have been better. It's still loud talking and cheering, but through a mask, there might still have been some, one of my friends called it the contagion. It was a movie. But anyway, it still could have spread some, but the super spreading event was really the cheering, the loudness, the huzzas, and the hugging. So Julia.
Yeah, I mean, that super spreader event affected the head of Notre Dame University. I mean, you know, every few minutes, it seemed yesterday, another case was identified. You know, I have to say, as careful as we've been, it's easy to let your guard down. So we're wearing all this PPE. And then one of our guests last week on our show said, you know, what happens is Lillian Abo from Florida, she's infectious disease. She said, you know, we wear all this PPE and then we take our masks off and we all congregate in the break room to have some lunch or to have some tea. And I think I've been a little bit more cognizant of not letting my guard down in that time. It was an unfortunate type of wake-up call to stay vigilant. But I have a question for Manisha. So I have a cousin who finished dental school, practicing dentistry, and then chose her passion of being an actress. And her name is Sonali Mahimtara Sachdev, and she's in Bombay, Mumbai. And she's an actress, and she just loves it. How did you break in? How did you do that dream that every little girl and boy has of being that person on the big screen?
Honestly, when I think I got lucky. First few years of my career was I got chosen for me and my co-actor Vivek Mushran were totally from a non-film background, very new. So we got a chance in our first film Saudagar, and from then on it was just like a big directors, big producers started signing on. And it when I look back, I feel first few years I didn't even know what had hit me. All I knew that I was working. I was on a roll of doing a lot of hours of hard work. um, it is much later on, when I realized, when people start saying, oh, you're a good actor, I realized that I was probably bearable actor. But I joined in when I was very young, and I got into that whole thing one after the other, and it was just few years down the line I just realized, oh, okay, this is serious. This is going to be my lifelong career. Otherwise, when I was young, I was too naive to understand.
There are a lot of pressures, though, especially at your level, right? In terms of being in public. I mean, we see that now in every arena. Like if you're a famous person, the expectations of you, like you want to show up in baggy sweatpants somewhere, like I'm pretty sure the media would go insane. Like, what are you doing? Manisha Koirala's lost it. Versus at least in the US, they're like, oh, look how chic it is. She's got this great, baggy sweatpants outfit on. So I think there's so many more pressures when you reach that level that to keep your focus and keep that your mind, really at peace and have the clarity of what your vision is and what you want to do, and not get bogged down by people around you and what their mandates are for you. It must have been very difficult and tricky, and you must have had some sort of soul centering either person or mantra or belief, or just belief in yourself that made you so centered.
Fortunately for me, there was some, without much of effort from my conscious effort from my end, there was a part of me which was really not attached to the glamour aspect, the exterior of my job. I was more of an artist who was tuned in, and I was disconnected with that. So that's why in my early years of my career, I was never in any kind of a group or any kind of gatherings. I've been a gypsy, so it's that's my probably is my saving myself intact away from glitter. I would love my craft, as I still do. I would love my job, but I also would keep myself away from and preserve my sanity, and that is a conscious effort now. But earlier on, it was not. It was some weird organic wisdom or whatever you call it, um, kept me away from that. And pe- I feel also like I've had 3 decades of being in that Indian film industry, and earlier on, people were a little more chilled out, a little more relaxed, and little more forgiving. I guess now, because of the social media, because so much is on your face all the time, I think the younger generation is slightly more stressed about these things than we are, and uh, I think I just hope and pray that they also realize what it is good for, and leave what it is not really required, because everything comes in such a huge, sometimes you get rattled up, you get lost in that, and you forget your identity, yourself, your true nature. Um, and I went through that grind also at some point. Um, but um, to it's a must for every artist, whether you are an actor or you are any kind of this thing, to stay in your lane, of stay focused about why you are in this profession, what is it, and not get swayed in with um, the shine. And it's just that part is very, very temporary. What will stay with oneself is your craft, and to focus on the craft rather than the outer layer. And
I think that's so valid, and I know Suju has so much to say also. But my someone, my husband used to say, "Don't believe your own hype," right? Like once you start believing the hype that's put around you, then you sort of are not really true to yourself. If you believe all the superlatives and everything else, you have to be really grounded. And it seems that you really have followed that. And one thing also, when you said the younger generation, I'm like, no, there is an Instagram filter for looking fabulous, okay? That I haven't yet, but it's there. So you could just take a photo and then post it, but it's a filter. So there's a filter. They used to say there's an app for that. Now there's a filter.
There's a filter. You're saying humility and focus, and Marina is 100% right. It's so easy to get caught up in how awesome you think you are, and I think having a family and friends and frenemies who ground you is actually really, really important, no matter what we're doing. Mark Lee wanted to know, he's awesome. He watches from North Carolina. And he runs a fantastic radio show. But Mark Lee wants to know, Manisha, what would you have done had you not been successful as an actress or an actor?
I was preparing to be a doctor.
It's all the same, guys. It's all the same. You go this way, you go that way, it's all the same.
Because in my family, they're either doctors, engineers, or politicians. And somewhere I had decided, okay, I'm going to be a doctor. Yeah, but I really don't know.
You're still helping people, right? So that's interesting, because your reach and you transport people in film, and you help them. So you actually have reached way more people than Suju and I have helping.
Well,
No,
for our
but you
show.
you
Now
you
we
all
have
do
our
some
fabulous show.
serious. No, you all do some serious, great job. Your profession, I have a huge respect for it. You're saving lives. You're, helping people to live healthy, and you know, it's a huge contribution. Your job is.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. There's a question about flu shots. Get your flu shot. I think, whatever flu shot is available now is the right flu shot to get. We had an infectious disease expert on to say, please get it, in October, because it does take a couple of weeks, as Marina was saying, to build up the immunity, and you want to stay as healthy as possible. We've heard about all these sort of high ups in political party getting sick this end of this week with COVID, and we wish them all a full and complete recovery. But really, the way to prevent getting this disease is the 3 W's: is wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance from others. One of my neighbors put up a picture of that super spreader event in the Rose Garden next to a picture of the Spanish Honor Society reception at the back of our high school on the field with folded chairs. And the kids in the high school practice social distancing and masks and greeting each other with a wave or a namaste or maybe an elbow bump. So learn from the kids, do the right thing, and we will get through this while a vaccine is being developed.
Yeah, for COVID. But the flu vaccine, there's been some question whether there's availability. I mean, check with your primary care doctors. That's important. They'll probably have it in their office. And if not, they are really tuned into who has it. Like, I'm sure if your primary care doesn't have it, they might know that there's a pharmacy that will. So checking that. And also, CVS Health has a lot of, we have a little crackle, huh? CVS Health, and so they have this.
I have to say, Sree, it's so hard to watch that video for me. Like, it actually hurts my eyes to watch it. Now when I'm watching movies or TV shows, I'm like, oh yeah, that was COVID. Everybody's without a mask and together.
Sree, you're muted. You're muted, honey.
I just wanted to say thank you. I just wanted to say that this picture you're seeing is Senator Mike Lee of Utah after he tested positive, before he tested positive. This is that event, the super spreader event. And just now, breaking news: Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, who was also at this event, has now tested positive. 3 senators testing positive at the same time. It's kind of shocking to see that this would happen here. We want to let Manisha say goodbye. So if she gets a chance to come back on, she may be having some tech issues, but if she comes back on, we'll let her say goodbye. For everyone watching, if you can just give us, as our doctors here, a little bit of guidance for what to understand about this. What does this mean now that this has happened to the president? He was in a bubble of sorts, but they had such lax rules within that bubble because intrinsically they didn't believe that this is real. They called it a hoax and everything else, and he was able to get sick, and all of these people get sick as well.
I think, one thing is that everybody gets the disease in a different manner. So it's unfortunate that all of these politicians have gotten the disease. I truly believe that. Originally, when this came out, I had a fever in February. I was like, oh, maybe I had it. So I wanted to check my antibodies. But the real issue is the disease is so different for so many people. At the beginning, when it's symptomatic, you may have it very mild, you might have it incredibly severe, and you can die from it. The other critical piece that we've spoken around about a couple of times on the She's on Call show is that there are patients that get the disease, recover, and still have symptoms. I spoke with one of my patients the other day. She got it, and she recovered, but she's still so fatigued. She's so thankful she's working from home, but she really doesn't have any energy. She's on steroids because her lungs are still not up to par, so she's put up some weight because she's been on steroids for a month. Most times when we give patients steroids for respiratory symptoms, it's a short term, like you're on it for, you know, anywhere from 3 to 10 days. I mean, she's been on it for over 30 days. And it's what we're going to see in terms of what, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but we're going to see is that there are going to be about, you know, 700,000 patients or 70,000 patients that all of a sudden come in with symptoms that need to be treated. Looking at, you know, 10% of patients that get COVID have longer term symptoms.
Yeah, and if you look at the rates of serious illness, no, luckily, you know, 80+% of people who get infected with SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19, 80% or more will have a very benign course, like a cold or a very short pre-flu. But when you're over 70, and if you have any comorbidities, which is, you know, any sort of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, lung issues, the risk of mortality, of dying from COVID, is about 3%. And the risk of having significant serious disease is 15 to 20%, including long-term disease. So the problem is, what we can gather is that in the White House and surroundings, they felt that testing was going to keep the virus at bay. No, testing doesn't prevent you from getting the virus. Testing tells you if you are infected. What prevents the virus is the 3 W's, is the wearing the mask, the watching the distance, the washing your hands. So, you know, I haven't shaken hands with anybody since March, right? So, you know, you just really need to follow these simple rules, allow your community, your environment to do the testing, do the tracing of the contacts, because they've got to go back to all those people in the Rose Garden and all the people that the people in the Rose Garden interacted with for 3 to 5 days before and subsequently, and they've got to go back, and those people should be isolating right away. Vice President Pence should not be on a campaign trail at all, because he was sitting right in front of Senator Lee in that event. So you have to isolate, you have to quarantine, and you have to do that contact tracing to keep this as controlled as possible. I really, you know, unfortunately, I'm over 55. I'm at a high risk group if I get this, of going towards that serious disease. So we need to be very cognizant that there are relatively simple things we can do. You know, how many of us have like a million masks, you know, sitting right by our bedside, right? So or our table, just wear your mask, wash your hands, watch your distance. When you come in from the outside, take off your mask, hang it somewhere to dry, take off your shoes, wash your hands, and go about your life. And I think if we do this, there have been several healthcare providers infected, but there have been many, many more who were able to avoid this disease, even though we take care of sick patients, even though, as Marina said, like, I'm in your face with it, by doing very, very simple strategies to keep ourselves healthy and our families healthy.
So the other thing is, though, you can get a negative diagnosis, right? So Pence and his wife are negative, but they're negative on the day they were tested. And it takes, after an exposure, up to 7 days. So usually they say 3 to 5 days and then get tested. So you're only negative at that time point that you were tested. And then you can still become positive, as to Sujana's point about going to rallies and, you know, campaign tours, etc. So he's going to need to get tested again, or he may become symptomatic in 5 days, 5 to 7 days. So that's what's unclear, or he may not get it. And that's the interesting thing about the way this virus is, that not everyone who's exposed is going to actually contract the virus. And I think repeat testing is also important if you can stomach it. There are rapid tests now, and then definitely the contact tracing is very important. So just, you know, if you've been exposed, you really should quarantine. You should get tested. It's to protect other people. And I think that's what's important, is the humanity of trying to be there for your fellow, your neighbors, your peers, your colleagues, and not ignore the risk, because the risk is so high. And some of those senators are, I think, much older than you, Suji. So, you know,
if anyone could be older than me, they certainly are.
Folks, this is so great. I want to remind everyone that you folks have a show of your own that airs on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and on WBAI at 2 p.m. Eastern on the radio in New York. Tell us about tomorrow's show.
It's going to be super fun, that's for sure, as all our shows are. But tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're going to be talking to 2 radiologists that actually do different things within their specialty, and just kind of break down a lot of the radiologic interventions and diagnostic things that these guys do that completely change our world. Like, well, Suju and I can look at a patient and actually, you know, feel a bump, or, you know, Suju is looking in with a scope, or also she's you know, looking at the neck and palpating. Getting these x-rays gives us such a better look at what actually is happening, how extensive is a process, and also, you know, findings that were completely unexpected. So they're such an integral part of medicine, and so it's just really a wonderful opportunity for us to highlight or showcase our colleagues.
That's awesome. So everyone, please tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Facebook and Twitter. Go right now and follow them on Twitter and Facebook.
At She's on Call.
At She's on Call, and
She's on Call.
And their Twitter their own individual Twitter handles, at Marina Kurian and at Dr. Sujana ENT. We could go on forever, but I know you have Saturdays to get to, and so we will let you both go. Thank you very much for being here, and that was so much fun. Thank
you. What a treat. Oh gosh, what a treat. Thank you. Thank you for letting us talk to Manisha. She's awesome.
So thank you for coming out here on a Saturday morning, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and on both of you on the show. Thanks, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. And great to see you both. That was an amazing hour and a half that we just kind of breezed by. We got to talk to Manisha Koirala and our 2 surgeon friends. Please check out She's on Call. Weekends are busy around here. We have this show on WBAI that's going to come up at noon Eastern. Elizabeth Chu, who is the Center for Public Research and Leadership at Columbia Law, is going to talk about school reopenings. And John Cho is going to talk about what's happening in Flushing as we try to recover from COVID-19 in New York. And then on Sunday morning, we are so excited. Andy Rosenthal will be here. He's a former New York Times editorial page editor and just a fantastic friend of journalists and journalism and South Asia. Of the 2 people you see on the screen, only one of us was born in New Delhi, and it wasn't me. Yes, it was Andy Rosenthal. His father, Abe Rosenthal, the legendary future editor of the New York Times, managing editor, executive editor of the New York Times, was then a correspondent in India back when Andy was born. So that's going to be an amazing day. And then we're going to end it with positivity with Ruth Ratblott, who is our guest on the Sunday night show. It's an early show at 7 p.m. Eastern, because my team is doing World Teachers Day. We're doing a 24-hour live broadcast from 9 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern from Sunday night to Monday night Eastern time, 24 hours celebrating teachers. We all love teachers, of course, and we are super excited about being part of that program. And that's what we do at Digimentors. If you have folks who you know who want to talk to us about their virtual events, please connect us. My email address is right here, and we do all kinds of virtual events, talk shows, things like that, conferences. We'd love to talk to you. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. We want to thank our sponsors, as always, including Charles Cunnincarroll, The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention by Charles, a developer of more than 80 patents. And check out guidetoinvention.com. And we also want to remind you about Fundamentals of Social Media, a free on-demand certification course. Enroll today, mrac.co/social. And we also want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time, your energy, and your support and insights. It means so much to me. 207 days in a row. You can get my archives at youtube.com/Sreenet, or you can get a gentle WhatsApp alert every time I'm live. It is not a WhatsApp group. Please know that. It is only a WhatsApp alert. And with that, we will say goodbye to all of you. And thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you soon, everybody. Thank you and goodbye.